The walk across to Lihou Island is beautiful, but you have to be very careful of our tides because the causeway only uncovers for a certain amount of time each day, and on some days not at all. And our tides are very big, so the tide comes up quickly and you have to be very careful that you don't get stuck on the other side because it's a long wait before the tide goes out again. So we're just beginning to walk on the causeway now. The causeway was built in the mid-1800s by a man called James Prior. The Germans mined all the beaches, but there were a few small bits of the coast that people could get to, and they collected, because food and supplies were so short during the 5 years of occupation, they went onto the beach to collect carrageen moss, which is a sort of reddish seaweed, and they used it to sort of create a substitute gelatine. Now, interestingly, in this time of the coronavirus, this carrageen moss is being used again by two very innovative Guernsey companies, the Guernsey Seaweed Company and Whedon's Gin, and together they're producing a hand sanitizer using the alcohol as a sanitizer and the carrageen moss to make the gel, to make it much more acceptable to use as a hand sanitizer. So very, very clever enterprise, I think, from these two companies on the island. Welcome to Lihou Island. We've just walked about a quarter of a mile across the causeway, and I'm now standing on another shingle bank. I did mention in an earlier post about the shingle bank on Guernsey. This is a huge pile of pebbles, a very specialised habitat that supports very specialised plants, birds and insects. Now, it's early in the season, but you can just start to see the beginnings of some rock samphire just starting to grow just down here by my feet. So we've just started walking around the island now, and ahead of us you can see the ruin of the Benedictine priory, which we're going to have a closer look at in a moment. But here you can, I don't know if you can hear the birds, but I can hear an oyster catcher. There's lots and lots of gulls, herring gulls, lesser and greater blackback gulls. And as I said before, they're all beginning to start pairing up and nesting for the spring season. We're now stood inside the Benedictine priory. The priory is called the Priory of Sainte-Marie de Lihou. No one's very sure of its exact date, but we have a suggestion that it was here in 1114 because they found a stone with that date carved on it when the archaeologists were investigating the site. But we know for certain it was here in 1156 because this chapel is mentioned in a papal bull. It was built by the Benedictine monks. The Mother Abbey was the Abbey of Mont Saint-Michel. And in ancient times, people thought that these special places were magical, mystical places, and lots of religious buildings were built on small islands. And this one is really exceptional. I mean, the situation is amazing. Look at the view. They're right on the coast. This, down here, you can just see where the tide's going out. There's actually a huge pond. That was created, that little bank of pebbles was created by the monks to create a fish trap. So they were able to have an abundance of fish and shellfish, which is beautiful on the island. They also had a walled-in vegetable garden. They brought across rabbits and had a rabbit warren, and they all escaped because there were lots and lots of rabbits on Lihou Island. So they had a very comfortable life on Lihou Island. But under a lot of suspicion by the locals. First of all, the monks claimed the right to the wrecks, and when you look around how many rocks and reefs there were numerous wrecks, and they also claimed the right to the seaweed, and the seaweed is a valuable commodity. It was used by the Guernsey farmers for fertiliser. It was also dried and used for fuel, and an enormous amount of seaweed is washed up on Lihou Island. So now we're sitting in a pigeon loft. This was another source of food for the monks, and in feudal times the lord of the manor, the seigneur on Guernsey, and there were several of them, there was up to 70 feudal fiefs at any one time, it was their right to have these pigeon lofts, which are called a colombière. And they were huge stone towers with lots and lots of pigeonholes. You can see the pigeonholes just in this first layer. It went right up, and the monks would either use the pigeons' eggs to eat or the birds at different times of the year.